Welcome to the newest episode of Sports Pantomaths. With me today, I got our other host who was missing from last podcast, Tristan.
What's going on,
I
guys?
got my UFC expert, the offensive lineman, Dakota. He's back with us. We're back with our second episode. Thank you for everyone who's tuning in. We're excited to bring you some cool topics. First, I just want to kind of address for the first-time listeners what a pantomath is. A pantomath is someone who knows everything or wants to know everything. And here at Sports Pantomaths, that's what we think we are. We want to know everything about sports. And
we don't know, we pretend.
Yeah. We're a bunch of know-it-alls who think we know it all. So first, I want to address a final thought that was given on our last episode by a guy who's not here today. Somehow he came up with the topic that Lamar Jackson was overrated.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let some of you guys get after it first. I got some stuff that I'm ready to, share with everyone. So you guys go ahead and start off. What you think about Lamar Jackson? Is he overrated or is he just changing the game?
It's fine. I mean, I get it's one season, so it might be even, a little early to jump the gun and say he's going to be an all-time great or that he's, the next big thing. I do think it says something when you break a Michael Vick record. I think that says a lot about
less games.
Yeah, I think that says a lot about how good he is. And I think props go out to the Ravens for sure for what they've done. I mean, they changed from a guy that had Joe Flacco at quarterback to go into Lamar Jackson and taking that on in stride. And really showing what most franchises should do and build around your star players. I mean, I think that's a
fit in your system.
Huge, exactly. I think that's a huge problem with a lot of teams that find themselves not performing the way that they want them to. I mean, for a guy that they say they can't pass, he's got the most touchdowns at 33. He's at 81.2 QBR, first in the NFL. He's leading the Ravens to a 12-2 record. I mean, they've got good pieces. I get it, but I don't know if you could say a lot of other guys could be in the Ravens in the Ravens team and leading them the way Lamar Jackson is.
I'm hearing a lot that he's only throwing 5-yard passes. So I kind of just want to address some things real quick. Lamar Jackson is first in the NFL in touchdown passes, like you mentioned, 33. First in QBR, first number one seed in the AFC, so it's not like he's not winning and just putting up stats. But I was on NFL Next Generation Stats, which is being a nerd, but he's got 39 passes that are over 20 yards completed this year. He's got 8 passes that have gone for over 40 yards, which is more than Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, Derek Carr.
They're supposed to be some of the best throwers in the game.
And right? Baker Mayfield, who you guys have told me is a great quarterback. And he's
I don't know.
Not you guys, but other people have been all about these guys. So he's got more downfield passes than those guys. Now, so don't tell me he's not a good passer. He's a great passer, in my opinion. I mean, you need a system to fit him. But if you're willing to adapt your system like you're supposed to do, adapt your system to your best player, then you're going to be fine. Not to mention that he's tied for most runs that are over 20 yards with Nick Chubb in the NFL. Yeah. He's got 7
for one player.
Seven rushing touchdowns. That puts you at 46 total touchdowns. And then I'm gonna let you just go on because I'm gonna say my last point.
No, I mean y'all are pretty much hitting all the points I was gonna make. But I think enough credit actually doesn't go to John Harbaugh.
Oh yes,
A lot of coaches are hard-headed and will not change their scheme.
Exactly.
They will not change their scheme. He's changed it, and he's embraced kind of Lamar Jackson.
That in itself is the greatest misjustice to a lot of great players that go to the NFL, right? They end up going to a scheme that's not for them. I mean, you look at it with, and I won't go deep into it, but it's Justin Fields and Georgia all over again, right? You're shoving a guy in there, he doesn't look as good at one place, but then can go light it up. Joe Burrow is the same thing from Ohio State, goes to LSU, and you change coordinators, or you add somebody in there. Completely different ball game. The same goes for these NFL guys. Just because they made it to the NFL doesn't mean they can do whatever you force upon them, right? Mm-hmm. You help them out.
And also Lamar Jackson, and I hate that Tim's not here, all right? Because he can't defend himself. We can't.
Yeah.
We can't have counter arguments. Can't have counter arguments with him because all three of us agree. But 11 touchdowns to 2 interceptions ratio. So he's thrown 33 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going nuts.
And
I will 40 touchdowns combined.
He has some. He has
46.
some.
Oh,
no,
40. My bad.
40 touchdowns.
I will say, I mean, he's not. he's not the best passer in the league.
No,
I'm not going to say that at all. And I don't think anybody is even wanting to go there quite yet. He still has developing to do as a passer. And I think you can say that for honestly every quarterback in the league, right? Everybody can get better at something. For him, I do think he can tend to lollipop some balls in there. It's not as crisp as some guys that have sat there and been pocket passers since they were growing up, but they also don't give you what Lamar Jackson gives you on a game basis, being able to put a game on his back, put guys on their butts and really just change a game in so many different ways. I hope it continues, man. He's exciting to watch.
Yeah, I love how you brought up how quarterbacks everyone has room to grow. And that's what I kind of want to bring up too. He's younger than the projected number 1 pick for next year's draft. The Heisman winner. He's younger than Joe Burrow.
Exactly.
So you're telling me he doesn't have more room to grow into an even better passer?
He's got so much time.
He's a once in a lifetime generational talent to me. You don't get that kind of athlete at quarterback that often. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen an athlete like that at quarterback in a long time. And instead of just, nitpicking, saying he's not a great passer or stuff like that, I think we just need to appreciate the greatness we're witnessing.
What he's got, it's different, right? It's different. Let it be different.
We don't know how long it's going to last. Like anybody can get hurt in a given game.
Especially being as mobile as he is,
exactly.
Right? That runs a risk, but he seems to be more durable than some guys in the past have shown that they are. And
yes,
I think he'll have a good career. Now, will every year be as great as this? Maybe not. It's hard to keep that longevity, right? I think the only person that you can say has done that is Tom Brady. And whether you think it's a system, whether you think it's that's a whole different argument. But consistency is the hardest thing about any professional sport. So it's going to be interesting to see how long he can do it. I don't think he'll drop off.
Is it a success if he wins 2 Super Bowls, though?
That's huge. If you win 2 Super Bowls, I think that's huge.
When people give me this longevity argument, he's not going to last as long in the league as Tom Brady or Drew Brees. Well, no, he's not. He's not the same player as those guys.
Yeah, exactly.
But the difference is if he goes and wins 2 Super Bowls in the next 8 years, you're going to sit here and tell me he's not a successful quarterback?
That's the thing. 1 Super Bowl a lot of times is the highlight of a person's 15-year career, right? But that doesn't take anything away from him at all. You do it once, that's all that matters.
Listen,
right?
Tom Brady's kind of an anomaly.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Super Bowls winning or quarterbacks winning multiple Super Bowls.
It's 6 in that. That's ridiculous. So.
That's kind of changed what we look at. He has to win multiple.
Yeah, exactly. Now 2 is almost considered not enough. Yeah, because you have a guy winning 6.
And he's going to have an MVP under his belt.
And also with Lamar Jackson, I think he's kind of restarting that experiment with scrambling quarterbacks. Right. So a couple of years back when RG3 and Russell Wilson, Cam Newton early in their careers, you started seeing read options more. And then as time has gone on, we kind of gotten away from that. I think we'll see that reintroduced into the NFL.
It'll be interesting to see too how they do it now, because I think it was almost an overcorrection when it first started with RG3 specifically. I think it was an overcorrection of, well, let's just run this dude into the dirt. Yeah. And you can see a quarterback's not going to be able to take hits from, NFL caliber players like they could in college, right? You can take more hits in college. You are going to eat it in the NFL. They're not going to play around with you like, you may get sometimes in college football where you can get away with that because you're just that much quicker.
Yeah. He can break some ankles, though. He makes some NFL guys look bad.
We'll see.
Speaking about Joe Burrow, what you guys think about the Heisman Trophy? Any complaints there about him winning the Heisman? I had no complaints.
I don't think you can complain about Joe Burrow winning the Heisman. I think he had more first place votes than anyone has ever had.
And but this is the weirdest thing. This is the one year where honestly I could have made a case for every single person winning the Heisman Trophy.
Had Joe Burrow not been there, let's say Joe Burrow didn't play at LSU this year.
Yeah, right? I could have seen anyone.
This year would have been an insane Heisman presentation.
Yeah, well, that's why for me it's so crazy to think, right? Because you have these you have 4 guys, right, that are clearly I think a cut above the rest, right? But you have 1 out of 4 that's clearly obliterating everyone else as well. I think that's what makes this so special from Joe. For me, I think it's probably in recent memory the easiest Heisman choice. I think
had more Heisman moments than
when I'm watching. Exactly. I think that was probably one of the easiest Heisman decisions in a long while. But you're right. You take that away, and you've got 3 guys. Justin Fields went 40 touchdowns to 1 interception. That is insane. That in and of itself can win people Heisman's probably any other year.
Early in the season, let's say midpoint of the season, I was all for Chase Young winning the Heisman. I thought he was so dominant. Yes. Yeah, I thought he was so dominant. And then Joe Burrow had his game against Alabama. I was like, oh, okay, that's changing the discussion. And then Chase Young getting suspended.
Did you see his Texas game?
Who?
Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
So it's not that he just had like that one moment. I feel like he had multiple Heisman moments.
Yeah, I just think that the Alabama game was opened people's eyes.
But he had so many Heisman moments this year that I was just like, man, like he just deserved. Like it's almost like when we play NCAA 14, you got to do your little Heisman little run. I feel like he had so many Heisman moments, whether it be Texas, Auburn, against Georgia, Alabama.
I mean, his worst game was against Auburn, and that was just because Auburn held it close. If you look at his stats, right, you wouldn't be like, oh, that was just a bad performance by Joe. His worst performance was good by most other quarterback standards. So, I mean, when that tells you where this guy was performing at all season, it's uncomparable, really. I mean, at that point, like I said, Fields was great. Hurts was explosive. I mean, in an Oklahoma offense that's ran well. Chase Young, an absolute beast. I mean, I remember specifically watching the Penn State game. That second half, he was unstoppable. Yeah. I mean, it seemed like every time he was getting in the backfield.
When Chase Young's on the field, you can see him because he's making. He's in on the play every play.
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean,
and he's not just a pass rusher. He's a run stopper.
No,
he's an all around player. I think
best player in the draft, like you said. I agree with you.
I would take him number 1 in the draft.
But speaking about the draft and Joe Burrow, I got a couple points I do want to make about him. While he's a great quarterback and he's had a great story this year, if he goes to the Bengals, he's not going to have a successful NFL career. He needs a system that's going to fit him in the NFL. I feel bad for him to a point because if he does go to a dysfunctional franchise, like you can't really show what he's capable of. However, at LSU, he gets the pleasure of throwing to elite wide receivers, running backs, and elite offensive line.
You'd hope tight end the same way.
But he's gonna if he goes to the Bengals. I mean, name a great player on the Bengals right now. AJ Green is hurt.
AJ comes back, right? You got to hope for your Joe Burrow.
Geno Atkins, Georgia alone.
Yeah,
very old.
That's your one. Like, good. I mean, my thing is again. I mean, it's what we were talking about. This is what we were talking about earlier, though. It's put your scheme around him. I mean, I get it's probably going to take some time. I don't think Joe Burrow goes there and lights it up. I mean, Joe Burrow proved he can be a respectable quarterback when the offense isn't necessarily at its best. LSU, his first year there, right? He had some good moments. He did tear down Georgia like it was nothing. So, but all in all, though, like he wasn't lighting it up, and I don't think that offense was very conducive of allowing him to do so. But I think if you are the Bengals and you decide to draft Joe Burrow,
do you bring Joe Brady with him?
But don't be another team that wastes a good talent, right? Because you're so set in your ways, or you're so hell bent on making sure that you run it the same way and that consistency is what's going to do it. No, don't do that. I mean, you're being proven wrong again with not even just the Ravens, but LSU as well. I mean, LSU did it from one year to the next, switch it around and look where they're at right now.
Basically the same players too.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a system thing. You fit the system.
They lost their best linebacker, and they're still doing this. I mean, given their defense hasn't been great, it doesn't matter.
If people can't outscore you.
No, it doesn't matter. Exactly.
So speaking about the SEC, for you guys, we got a little SEC bowl game prediction. We're going to kind of just see who gets the best record for this week or for the SEC bowl games.
I need somebody to make sure hold us down to this, so we'll have to watch this again and make sure that we keep the notes on and see who's got it.
We haven't decided what the loser will get yet.
We'll figure that out by the next episode.
It's possible that the loser will eat the world's hottest. Did you say chocolate?
World's hottest chocolate.
World's hottest chocolate.
That, or if we're too lazy, we'll just do the buffalo wings.
Or we'll end up with Buffalo Blazing Challenge.
So we'll see. We'll figure something out. It might be something.
You know where to find the world's hottest chocolate?
Let us know.
Give us an email.
Let us hit us up in the comments.
Getting up on the SEC bowl games. I'm gonna start it off with Texas A&M and Oklahoma State. I'm gonna let you guys kind of start it off. If you guys want to, or I can go.
I got you.
Go ahead.
I'm actually going to say Oklahoma State's going to take this. I think Oklahoma State's got some good pieces. And I think they're going to take advantage of a team in Texas A&M who's had what I personally think is the hardest schedule in all of college football.
Yes.
I think they're beaten up, maybe not necessarily from an injury standpoint, but just it was brutal what they had to endure. And I think they're going to be a little demoralized. it could be Texas A&M's story to turn it, have a good win at the end of the season and continue that hype going into the offseason like they had last year. I just don't think so. I think Chuba Hubbard takes it to them, and I think they'll win this game. I think it'll be close, but I think they'll.
Yeah, I also have Oklahoma State winning. Same thing, I said last week that Texas A&M is probably the best 7-5 team that's ever been.
Yeah, ever been.
I mean, it's ridiculous. But, yeah, I have Oklahoma State because, first of all, I think they have a two-headed monster on offense with Spencer Sanders at quarterback as well, as well as the running back. Spencer Sanders is just fast, just a different type of speed. I think it's going to be a really high-scoring game, too. I think Munn is going to score some touchdowns.
Depends what you get from him, though. That's always the question mark with him. He's got such a good arm.
Yeah, I mean, he's so up and down.
Yeah, exactly.
Up and down.
I'm going to hit both of you guys with a not so fast, Lee Corso.
Oh, okay.
Not so fast.
I think Oklahoma State's going to run the ball successfully on Texas A&M. I really do. However, I think Kellerman's going to go out with a bang. I think Jimbo Fisher, I think he's going to show that these coming years, I think Texas A&M's a program on the rise. I think
they're on the right track, too.
I actually got A&M winning a shootout, just like you guys are saying, but I got them covering the 7 spread, 45-34.
Yeah.
Okay. Next SEC game, we're going to have Mississippi State versus Louisville.
I think that's going to be a close one. I really do. I don't think I'm confident in either team, really. I don't see either team having any kind of it factor to pull away from the other. Solely, I just think Mississippi State, I think, has had a tougher schedule, has been in some bigger games this year, playing just against top-tier talent. And I think their athletes, recruiting-wise, I think that's what's going to separate them. I think they'll pull away maybe at the end, but I don't see it being, a special game Louisville could win, and I wouldn't be surprised.
So you take Mississippi State?
Yeah, I'm taking Mississippi State.
Yeah, I got Louisville. I think actually Louisville has athletes everywhere. Extremely fast team. I like their quarterback and former Appalachian State their current head coach. He used to coach at Appalachian State.
Tom
it's Scott Satterfield.
Oh, that's another coach from bad.
Yeah. He I like him. I think he's going to be a quarterback or head coach that's going to be on the rise and on people's radars pretty soon. Both give up a lot of points though.
Yeah.
And so this is another game that could potentially be a shootout. But yeah, I got Louisville.
I got Mississippi State. Actually, their running back is 45 yards away from breaking their school's rushing record.
Colin Hill is the one. Yeah, I should have mentioned
that. I think he says he's going to play in the bowl game.
Special players.
So I think that's going to be one of the
big for them.
Key factors. They're favored by 4. I actually have them winning by 7, 31-24, and covering the spread. The next game, I got Florida versus Virginia. For all you Florida fans out there, you're favored 14.5 against Virginia.
That doesn't surprise me either.
I actually really like the direction that Florida's going. As a Georgia fan, I hate Florida. I'll tell you exactly. I hate Florida. However, I really like the direction of the program. They've always had great athletes, whether it be on defense, offense. They always have a solid running game. I feel like good defense. Good skill players. I love Dan Mullen as a coach. He's a very good coach, great offensive mind. But Virginia's really not a bad team.
No, they're not.
They're
not at all.
I mean, you hear the word Virginia and you're like, that's a basketball school.
Yeah.
But however, 2 of their losses came to Clemson, who is just an elite team in and out.
Cut above.
However, I got Florida winning, but they're not going to cover the spread at all. I actually have this being a very close game, a 4-point game. I got Florida winning 35-31.
I actually have Florida winning big.
Really?
Yeah, I like Dan Mullen. However, I don't want to disrespect Virginia. I need to talk positive about them. I think Bronco Mendenhall has this team going in the right direction. I'm very impressed. When he left BYU a couple years back,
who heard of Virginia, right? Before this, it was
whenever
nothing,
I heard
right?
Bronco Mendenhall was leaving BYU to go to Virginia, I was like, man, what is this guy doing? There has to be a better job somewhere. And he's proven me wrong. He's turned this program around. It's very impressive.
No, I was about to say that's an awesome season. I think with that 3-loss season.
But 9-3, and then they lost the bowl games or lost the championship game in the ACC. So 4-loss team right now. I think it's going to be 5. I do. I'm with him. I'm with Dakota on this one. Florida wins this one easy, and nothing against Virginia, right? Not at all. I think they've had a good season, and I get that the ACC's got a lot of teams going into the bowl games, but I don't think they've been battle tested the same way. Yes, you had to play Clemson twice, and that was your 2 losses.
And Notre Dame. They played Notre Dame as well.
That's true. But I just think, for me, it's more of an issue of I think you're coming in as Virginia licking your wounds after that beatdown you just took from Clemson. And Florida, on the other hand, after that Georgia loss, nothing but positive coming out of Florida. They've looked really good since the loss against Georgia. And I think they're going to want to continue that positive trend into the offseason and try to take that into the recruiting momentum as well. So I think Florida wins it easy, covers the spread.
Yeah. The next one I got is Kentucky versus Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's favored 2.5. I really like Kentucky's coaching staff. I like what they've done.
Turnaround's been awesome for them.
How you play a whole season with a wide receiver at quarterback and make a bowl game, that is something you just have to appreciate the coaching job that they're doing there.
Mm-hmm.
However, honestly, I haven't really seen much of a Virginia Tech game. I just know if you have a wide receiver playing quarterback for you, it's going to be tough to win. I'm going to take Virginia Tech 27-21 covering.
Yeah, I got Kentucky because, even though he is a receiver, he's not a great passer.
No, he's a great athlete.
He can get it there sometime. Yeah. But he's just exciting to watch. Lynn Bowden is
phenomenal athlete.
It's so fun to watch him play. And also I like Mark Stoops. So that's why I'm picking Kentucky.
Great coach.
And also, like you, I haven't watched much Virginia Tech. Just haven't.
I haven't either. Can't say I have, but I also do know I haven't really been impressed with Kentucky, albeit the situations that they've been in have not been great.
Yeah.
I don't find it that Kentucky's going to find a way to pull this one out. I don't think it's going to be a blowout either which way. I just think Virginia Tech's going to win.
Yeah, I think it could just be my SEC bias.
Yeah.
I have no reason to pick Kentucky besides I think the quarterback's fun to watch.
Yeah, best athlete.
Fair enough.
The next game I want to go to is Auburn versus Minnesota. I'm going to go on a quick little rant real quick for you Auburn fans. You wasted an elite defense this year.
I could say the same about Georgia, but we'll put that
we'll
to the side.
We'll wait on that. We're going to get to Georgia too. They did as well. So, no bashing here. I'm just being honest with you. You wasted a national championship defense this year. I was arguing earlier that you guys had the best defense by far, not by far, but best defense in the nation on talent-wise. However, and how you guys called for Gus Malzahn's head.
That's by far.
I think all three of us agree that Gus Malzahn is an outstanding coach.
Great coach, great offensive mind.
Nothing against Bo Nix, but he was not. He's a freshman that's not a good thrower yet.
Bo Nix costed you guys this season. I love his intangibles as a leader. I want to give him positive and credit when it's due. His intangibles and his leadership and his composure and the big games that he's had to and all the pressure he's had to deal with as a freshman and
honestly probably one of the toughest schedules besides Texas A&M. Auburn's up there too.
Awful schedule, brutal schedule.
Absolutely.
However, he is a below average passer. I don't see if you don't see this, I can't help you out.
I can't help you out.
Honestly, I've seen him miss
throw balls into the dirt.
I've seen him miss a screen pass. How you throw a screen pass inaccurately or into the dirt? God help me, I've got no clue. One of the worst, honestly, I saw games he was 9 for 33. How are you 9 for 33 and still starting? You missed out on Joey Gatewood. He should have been your quarterback, I think.
I will say this. The only thing I have to say about it is you with Auburn, that kind of is going to happen, though. It's the same thing with when you had Nick Marshall. Right? He's not a great quarterback. You wait to groom those guys because by the sophomore year and junior year, a lot of times these guys show out in Gus Malzahn's system, and that's when they start actually pushing to start winning national championships, SEC championships. The Gus Malzahn system's up and down, but the ups are very, very high and the lows can be very, very low. So I think they're in good hands with Bo Nix. I don't think he's been great this season, and I think that the undue frustration with him has turned onto Gus Malzahn, and I don't think that's fair at all. I think he's a great coach. I do.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think Auburn is in good hands with Bo Nix.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's definitely going to get to that point where, as Georgia fans, we should actually be a little bit
worried. Exactly.
I think we should be a little bit worried. I think
to be tossed into the schedule he had this season, and you end up, albeit not great, not pretty, 9-3. That says a lot in and of itself.
Listen, let's not misrepresent Bo Nix either. Bo Nix had a couple games where he was outstanding.
Yeah.
Against who though?
I don't have the stacks, but I do know that
FCS opponents don't count.
No. Yeah, I'll pull it up right here.
Or neither does Arkansas. Arkansas pretty much an FCS opponent.
I mean, let's be real though. I mean, we can get onto let's not get too far off topic on it, but like Jake Fromm is the same way too. I mean, he had. But, he didn't have great games against big teams either, but I wouldn't say he's going to go and he's not the worst quarterback out there. I just think when you're Auburn, you recruit those guys knowing that they're really, really good athletes and runners and that they're going to develop as passers as it goes along.
My thing is to slow down on the expectations, slow your roll on how good he's going to be. I haven't seen him. Nothing of his throwing ability has impressed me or anything. I like his intangibles and his things that you can't teach more than his skills.
So, against Mississippi State, his third start of the season. No. I'm reading that backwards. All right. Anyway, against Mississippi State, he had 335 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 76% completion. Against Arkansas, 3 touchdowns, 70% completion rating. Against Ole Miss, he had 340 yards.
The 3 bottom teams of SEC West, though.
But here's the thing: he's a true freshman.
I think honestly, at this point, it's more of a to be determined kind of thing.
I'm just saying, there's some games where you saw the potential.
No, there's positive. There's an upside.
I got to get Minnesota.
It goes up. I think it goes up.
Let's get back on topic. You got Minnesota.
I got no. I got to give Minnesota some credit too.
All right,
PJ Flake's been a great coach. They have some wide receivers who are actually some game changers. I watched them play against Penn State. They got some guys who can go get the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the Minnesota wide receivers create some matchup problems, give Auburn a little bit of fits. However, I think Auburn wins. They don't cover. They win 31-27 in their bowl game.
I think defense is key in this one, like you were talking.
Auburn, 31-27.
I think defense is key here, and I think Auburn's going to pull away. I mean, you saw what Minnesota had a great story, and it came to a crashing halt at the very end, which was unfortunate. I was kind of looking forward to a Minnesota-Ohio State Big Ten championship, but didn't happen, and I think that has to do with Minnesota was kind of overperforming. I think you can say that comfortably. Not that they're not a good football team. I'm not going to take that away from them. They've had a fantastic season. I just don't think that's their true identity. I think they've overperformed. I think Auburn's consistently good. I think they've got all the matchups are in Auburn's favor, in my opinion. So I think Auburn's going to take care of it. Defense, again, being key. I don't think Bo Nix is going to, light it up. I think Minnesota's defense is respectable. So I don't think he's going to just burn them. But I do think Auburn pulls away towards the end.
I will say, watch out from Minnesota. If Bo Nix is –
Antonio Winfield Jr.?
Yes. He made some plays against Penn State. If Bo Nix makes some mistakes, it could flip. I still think Auburn's going to win, but
yeah, I got Auburn as well. I think the Auburn defensive line is just that much of a difference maker. I think, Gus Malzahn's ability to go find 315-pounders that run like a 4 or 5 is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, what in the world? Where is he finding these guys? Where the heck is he finding these guys?
And they develop well, too.
Yeah. I think Bo Nix does have to show up a little bit. I think Minnesota's too good to not show up.
I think that's what I'm saying. I think it's a good fight at the beginning. Yeah. I just think that's where
he can't throw under 50%, and then
expect
he can't have 115 yards.
Yeah, he can't do that. I think their head coach PJ Flake is the real deal.
I don't know where, man. If I'm him, do you leave Minnesota if you're him eventually? I think you got to go to a more.
Eventually, maybe if it continues.
I think you have to find a program that can just recruit better.
And also, I like Minnesota's quarterback Tanner Morgan.
I liked him too.
Yeah, he was a surprise to me.
Yeah, he's a competitor. I like watching him play. I like his mentality.
Yeah, I agree with you, man.
And I think Bo Nix kind of has the same mentality.
But like I said, I love his intangibles. I really just hate how he can't hit he couldn't hit water foul on a boat.
Listen,
man.
After the first game against Oregon and just watching him on that game-winning drive, I was like, all right, this kid is special.
He's got a lot of potential there. He's just got to be able to throw the ball better.
He's got the it. He's got the it that you want in the quarterback, and the performances follow.
So this next game is 2 historic programs.
Talking about now.
Honestly, I'm mind blown that Alabama finished 13th. I'm going to get to them in a little bit.
I think that has to do with the committee wanting to give the general fan what they want, sticking it to Alabama. Obviously, Alabama is not the 13th best team in the country. They're much better.
We're going to get at that. Alabama versus Michigan. I can honestly see Alabama not showing up at all.
That's very possible.
I think Nick Saban says, you know what? You got us ranked at 13th in the college football playoff.
I think the disrespect factor comes in.
That is disrespectful to do that to Nick Saban and that team. And on top of that, no preseason All-Americans. No All-Americans. That mind blows me. I'm going to get to that. But I think Najee Harris is going to run the rock a lot. Honestly, Michigan has never impressed me the whole Harbaugh era.
No.
Even with the recruiting classes, I feel like every single time I watch a Michigan game, it is like watching a team running in quicksand. They're just a slow, they're an old school team to watch too. They try to be new school at times, and then they go back to old school ways.
It doesn't look right with the guys.
It doesn't look the same as the Jim Harbaugh or the Harbaugh teams that we saw at Stanford.
Yeah, I mean, right? It's just tough to watch.
Yeah.
So I got Alabama winning 42-21. I got them kind of just handling Michigan pretty well throughout.
I think that's it. I think that's the same way. Like for me, right? The record might not show it necessarily, but Alabama lost their games by combined 7 points against Auburn and LSU, right? You can't tell me Alabama's not a good football team. Tua being healthy, I see them being 12-0. And, I don't think they're much worse than Ohio State or LSU or any of that. And look what Ohio State did to Michigan.
With Tua 12-0?
Yeah.
Was Tua healthy when they played LSU?
No, he was coming off.
Oh, he was coming off
surgery.
But he did play.
Yeah, he played, but he was coming off that ankle surgery. But genuinely, I don't really think you can tell me that Alabama is much worse than Ohio State, and Ohio State absolutely obliterated Michigan. Like I said, if like you were talking about, if Alabama doesn't show up, then that's a whole different story. But I think a disrespect factor comes in. I think they want to fight for just the respect that I think they deserve. And I think they handle business. Michigan doesn't seem like much of a to any big teams that they play. They constantly lay an egg in those kind of games. So
yeah, I picked this game based off of what I think will happen. I don't know what's been announced as far as what Alabama players are going to be playing.
I don't take that into account.
Yeah, I did. So I picked Michigan. I also just think that Alabama won't show up. I think the letdown from the season will carry over mentally. And also I think when you're Michigan and you say, oh, we're playing Alabama, that's a get-up game. That's where you show up. That's where Michigan shows up, and maybe Alabama has a letdown.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I could see that. That's one thing. I think the only difference between this year and the years that when Alabama didn't make it to the playoff, which they made it every year, to the national championship, I should say. The difference is that they were going into the SEC championship, or they were going into that last week having a chance to really make the playoff. I think this whole time since they lost to LSU was always an outside shot. I don't think they were really ever favored to get that fourth position. So I think for them, after that second loss and knowing that they were out of it, I think it was less of a disappointment on the season, and it kind of solidified to them that they had a rough season in the fact of 2 big games, you barely lose, you can't eke out the win. Yeah. And so I think it's more.
I think there's just a chance they go into this game with a lot of second string guys.
Yeah, that's true.
I think Judy's the only wide receiver that leaves.
I mean, we'll see.
I think we're gonna hear from this later, but I had Zach, who's supposed to be with us on the podcast, he said he had an inside source.
Okay.
Right. Okay. That's big news, guys.
It's big news releasing here from Zach Williams, reporting. Tua and Devontae Smith will be back next year, is what he says. So we will see if Zach is right. If not, I'm gonna try to make a bet with him and see.
I actually have some genuine inside information directly from someone that knows Tua, but decision for him has not been made. He has not made a decision. He has not made a decision yet. He's spoken.
It's a tough decision. We'll probably
get players staying and leaving soon. The next game we got though is Georgia versus Baylor. I'm gonna let you guys kind of start.
I think it's a trap game for Georgia again. I think it's another game. I don't think the problem is as much Georgia not showing up and not having a good offensive performance like they did against Texas. I think it's the fact that Georgia's offense just is not that good, and I think Baylor, you don't normally associate a good defense with a Big 12 team, but I think Baylor actually does have a very respectable defense. And so, again, can Georgia find a way to score some points against a good defense? And it'll be interesting to see how Baylor performs against Georgia's defense, right? I think there's a lot of decent matchups there.
Now Baylor may be missing starting quarterback.
Being a Georgia fan, but I mean they stayed in the game still without him.
I agree.
Against Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship, Georgia will be missing some key guys as well, and so I think Georgia ekes it out. But very easily could lose that game if they have a very lay an egg offensively. So
yeah, kind of the same thing with Alabama. I don't know what players are sitting out. That kind of worries me. We might be missing both our safeties. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know what's been confirmed, of course. So I also worry about Georgia just not showing up. Same deal. I think, kind of being on the cusp of the playoffs and then losing the way we did. That's tough. That's tough mentally, possibly. Baylor can score. We know that. Mm-hmm. We cannot.
Exactly.
And I also think Fromm will be thrown into tight windows, trying to make plays. And I just don't think he has the guys that can help him out.
Yeah, a lot of injuries, a lot of backups.
I just don't think he has the people to help him out and make those plays for him.
So you're calling Baylor on this one?
I got Baylor.
Okay.
Baylor's been a great story this year. I've liked following them. I was pulling for them, honestly, to win the Big 12. Mm-hmm. I pulled for them to beat Oklahoma the first time they played and the second go-round.
I think I did both times as well, yeah.
I honestly, I don't have a problem with Baylor. I've always kind of respected their program. I like Matt Rule, their coach. He's done great there.
Great turnaround. Goodness.
I don't know how he pulled him out of the Art Briles tail.
Not enough can be said about that.
It was burning there, Waco, but from Art Briles. But hey, he got the turnaround. But honestly, I think Georgia shows up this year. I think they heard enough from last year from the letdown to Texas. They lost to one Texas school already. I don't think they're going to lose again in this bowl game. I think they're going to come ready to play. I think Kirby Smart's will be like, hey, we let off last year for the bowl game. I think he's going to get out there, going to give them something to prove. They need to prove themselves as a program. What are they about? Mm-hmm. What do they stand for? Also, these losses in these big games, like bowl games, I hate to say it, but that affects your recruiting. Sure. And I think sometimes you got to go in and you got to prove some stuff to get in, to bring in those good players.
I also think a big thing, too, that I liked about Kirby is he's bringing the guys that want to play.
Exactly.
And the guys that don't, they're not even coming. They're not even going to be on the sideline, which I think is good.
Awesome.
It takes away the distractions on the sideline, guys that are just there to experience the moment, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. I think it's going in with a business mentality, which a lot of teams that aren't in the playoff now don't come in with that same business mentality.
My bad. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, and I kind of hate this new trend that's starting to happen where, your big players don't play in the bowl games. Some people have raised their draft stocks from playing in the bowl games.
I think it all depends.
I think it also depends on the kind of player you are, though, right?
If you're a running back, if
you're that middle tier.
I guess I'm just coming from my
mindset is like I agree.
Yeah, my mindset. I'm like, no, I'm playing in the bowl game. Are you freaking kidding me?
Me personally,
however,
I don't have a problem.
I don't think DeAndre Swift is going to play in this game. I think
he should.
However, I think Georgia's going to feature multiple backs against Baylor. They're going to run the ball successfully. They're going to win and cover. They're going to win significantly, 31-13.
Yeah, and see with DeAndre Swift, I don't really have a problem with it. He does already have an injury. Yeah. I do think that's a different case, but I'm talking about healthy scratches. Yeah. I just don't like the trend. I don't really mind your players sitting out, depending on, for example, some guys, they've contributed to the program. They put in their time, their hours. Sometimes, I'm kind of with the players to a point. If you don't want to play in that bowl game, why should you go out there and risk it for a game that doesn't matter?
Yeah. Well, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. I think
it's 100% their choice.
Player-centered is perfect.
Yeah, it's their choice because it is their future. Yeah. A lot of the guys that sit out are NFL bound.
They're not getting paid to do this stuff, right? And really, it sucks that it's gotten to this point. But bowl games really don't mean anything. I mean, they don't. It's gotten to the point, and especially now with the playoff too, it really doesn't mean anything. So I'm okay with it. The players getting a choice and it being more player-centered because we do need to be a little bit more, considerate about them and their futures because they put a lot on the line for their respective schools, coaches, and all that. I think they can be selfish at the tail end of their careers when they put their time in.
Yeah, that's just my 2 cents. For let's say a guy that isn't really NFL bound but is a starter, right? Those bowl games do mean something.
Yeah.
So if you're a teammate of these guys,
absolutely.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
That factor comes in for some of them.
Yeah. But see, for example, you're DeAndre Swift and you're.
Yeah, I think DeAndre Swift's a different example, just because he's already hurt.
If for example, who sat out the bowl game last year?
Baker.
DeAndre Baker.
Yeah.
Why should he have played?
It comes to maybe at like a meeting with the players, right? Where you just go, hey guys, this is my decision. I think I'd be like, yeah, I understand, right? But after we lost, I'd be like, man, that sucks. I think had he played, it might have been different.
Yeah,
because a guy that's not going to the NFL, like I said, that's your last college game.
No, yeah,
I mean, it makes a huge that means something to them.
Uh-huh.
So that's just kind of my point.
That's a good perspective. See, that's a good perspective to come from. The next game we got Tennessee versus Indiana.
Yeah, I like Tennessee's back half of the season.
I do too. They're favored by 1.5. So this is just like betting straight up. So I kind of like this kind of bet. I really like Jeremy Pruitt. Honestly, there seems to be a culture shift at Tennessee.
Slowly. It was worrying at the beginning, right? I thought they were going to go back to being a dumpster fire.
And all of a sudden, once they played Georgia, they played great against Georgia. From that point on, honestly, I haven't seen them play really any bad football.
They would have been a 9-3 team if it wasn't for those 2 losses at the beginning. Think about that. Tennessee being 9-3, and their only losses coming to Florida, Georgia, and Auburn.
Georgia State.
I'm saying if they beat.
Oh, I got you.
Excuse me, not Auburn, Alabama.
Did they just lose to BYU?
Yeah, I'm saying if they.
He's saying without those first 2
losses.
Those
first 2 losses, you're a 9-3 team. Your only losses being to 3 teams that should have been in the top 10. Alabama. That's a huge jump up for Tennessee, and like you said, huge culture shift.
I don't really know much about Indiana. I think I said their coach's name to you earlier.
They did well. They did well this season. Very well.
The old Appalachian State coach. His name's Tom something. But they played Penn State pretty close from what I've seen. They went 8-4. They're kind of like your typical 8-4 team. I think Tennessee's going to win and cover the spread 34-28. I don't really know much about Indiana, so I can't really say much about them.
I watched one Indiana game. I think Tennessee's. Like I said, I just the trend that they're going. I like the trend that Tennessee's going. Tennessee's got a good football team. Again, a team that should have been 9-3. If they hadn't just came out slow and lax, it's inexcusable, right? Shoulda, coulda, woulda. But that's a 9-3 deserving team, and I think they handle business. I think they cover the spread. I mean, it's 1.5 points. I think they cover that.
Yeah, I picked Indiana. I just think we're talking about Tennessee, right?
Sure.
Like Tennessee's going to be Tennessee. They've had talented teams for the last 5 years and just haven't done anything. And also, I'm not very confident in Jeremy Pruitt as a head coach. I think he's an outstanding defense coordinator.
Really?
I think he brings a good mentality, but I think as a head coach, I don't think he'll be it.
I think this is the last season how they started should have been a 9-3 team. I think this is the last season that's an excuse, right, for Jeremy Pruitt. Right now, should have been a 9-3 team, but you're not.
Yeah.
I think that stops cutting it at Tennessee, and he can be on the hot seat very, very fast, right? I think people are okay with saying, this could have been a 9-3 season. This team was better than their record. That in the SEC, that doesn't hold very well for very long.
Indiana, their quarterback Peyton Ramsey, he's
deal.
legit, man.
Yeah, he's a real.
Peyton Ramsey's legit.
I would like to do the LSU Oklahoma game, just kind of give you a chance to kind of get playoff game.
I'll do a quick spiel on that because I wasn't here last time. I think committee got it right. Also, I think this is probably the first year that if you argued for an 8-team playoff, it would have been a waste of time. With that said, I see this being another typical Oklahoma team. But I just don't see them being able to pull it out against LSU. LSU's got the exact same caliber, if not better, offense, and a team that's really gotten healthy on the defensive side, has the big names on defense that just hasn't been able to perform as a unit necessarily all season. I think that the last 2 games have shown that they can. I think it's a blowout. I really do. I think it's one of those games where Oklahoma's going to score their points, but I don't think Oklahoma is going to be able to hang with LSU because I don't think they're going to be able to stop LSU at all. And I think LSU is going to be able to get some stops against Oklahoma, whereas Oklahoma can't do that to LSU. Mm-hmm. And it turns out being a 20-point loss by the end of the game. I think it's a blowout.
I was talking about Uncle the other day, and I just, as he was kind of talking, you can kind of see more and more people just starting to doubt Oklahoma. I did watch them play. Their defense honestly didn't look that bad in the Baylor game.
Yeah,
it wasn't terrible. I really like Jalen Hurts and Lincoln Riley. They are the number 4 team in the nation. I think Oklahoma is.
And not enough can be said about Lincoln Riley and what he does with quarterbacks. He's a guru with that. I just don't think Jalen Hurts has proven enough with his arm.
You want to go ahead and do a Clemson game?
But I'm going to go ahead and say 45-31 LSU.
Okay. Go ahead and finish this, and I'll talk a little bit more.
Oh, no. I made my picks last week.
Okay. Yeah, and I will jump real quick to the Clemson Ohio State game. Man, that's an exciting game. I play with it inside my head multiple times about what I think could happen, where it could go, this, that, and the other. I think as long as the Justin Fields injury is not too much, I think he's got time to heal from that. I think he'll be all right. It's going to be interesting. How much does that experience that Trevor Lawrence has had in the past going through these games, how much is that going to be a factor, right? I think this is going to be Ohio State's toughest test. How does Justin Fields handle it? I think both defenses are going to show up okay. I actually have a lower scoring game than what y'all thought. I think that surprisingly the defenses are going to show up. And I think it's going to be more one of those 31-24, 31-28. I think Clemson pulls it out, though, goes back. I think it's going to be an all-Tiger championship game.
How about that?
Chase Young, difference maker.
And he can be there, but I think
should be first pick in the draft.
I think Trevor Lawrence is actually mobile enough to handle that. And I think Trevor Lawrence has played very, very talented teams in the past with talented defenses. I think he knows that scene and can handle that.
Speaking of kind of just Chase Young and everything, he's got a choice to come back for another year.
Yeah.
I heard some rumors about him talking about
I think he
back
misunderstood the question, though.
So just kind of getting back to kind of the leaving or staying. I mean, we all kind of got some players to say if we think they should leave or stay. So, I mean, we'll kind of just rotate. I'll let you go through a player. We'll all kind of just go through players till we finish our list.
I think we pretty much had the same players.
I don't know. My list
we'll go off your list.
Yeah, go ahead. Start us off. And we'll just talk
so
about
my first one is Richard LeCount. I'm going to just kind of – you got to just think, should he stay or should he go?
Can leave. Think he's good enough to leave. He could probably benefit from another year. I hope he stays. Like I said, I think he can benefit. Do I think he stays? Yes, but I think it's like to the deadline, the day that he has to make that decision. I think he has to stay.
100% agree. I think he should probably stay.
He's phenomenal, though. I mean, he's still such a great player.
Yeah, I mean, if he leaves, who blames him? I mean, I think the talent is there to be a underclass draft.
I think the talent is there. However, I think he could very benefit from another year.
Yeah,
I think
college, getting better. So I think he should stay as well
to make himself elite, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what the difference with one more year would make him. I think he'd be elite.
It'd rather be a fourth or third round pick.
That's what I'm saying. That money from that early first round pick's a lot different.
What about Devontae Smith from Alabama?
It's hard, man. You think about it. You look at all these wide receivers; they're all good. But realistically, you could say that Judy should be the only one that leaves. But then you look at Georgia had 4 guys leave, and I don't think any of them were as good as Judy, and they all left too. And so.
Well, they have 4 guys.
I think he should stay. I think Devontae Smith should stay. But I think he'll go. I think he'll leave.
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on what happens with the other receivers, right? Like Jerry Jeudy leave, Henry Ruggs leave, you stay.
I think both
and you become the number 1 receiver and see what.
That's exactly what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I think that only raises your draft stock.
I think that is, man. I was about to say that's exactly what I think happens. Yeah. Judy and Ruggs both leave. He fills into the number 1 and increases.
Well, maybe number 2. Waddle's
that would scare me if I'm Smith, right? Because
I guess
but they're 2 different kind of guys.
Yeah, but it would suck to be there a year longer, stay your senior season, and then be falling out.
But and you really don't even.
That's more of a fit though for your team. What kind of receiver are they looking for in the NFL? Yeah. Are they looking for like that speed, deep threat, or are they looking for like a sure-handed guy like Smith?
I think it goes to whether he thinks he's got a lot of things that he can learn, or if he thinks he's got enough intangibles to go off. I think that's more of a personal thing. I don't think he's going to.
And also, how confident is he that Mac Jones can?
I don't think he's going to base it off the other guys at the end of the day.
Come back.
I don't think he's going to base it off of that.
What about Monty Rice from Georgia?
I think he should
linebacker.
Stay. He's a good player, but I don't think he made enough of a name for himself. Mm-hmm. Right? He reminds me a lot of Roquan Smith, but he didn't have that caliber season. He didn't have a Roquan Smith-esque season. He's got the same breaking speed, the same kind of vision, but he didn't make the same kind of plays. Mm-hmm. I think he stays another year, does have a Roquan kind of season, and then goes off and benefits a lot from that.
I agree right there.
Yeah, I think he should stay. I don't think we'll ever see another Roquan Smith, though.
No, like, he's going to be similarities.
I think
sideline to sideline.
I think
speed.
with all the Georgia players, all the Georgia defensive players could benefit from staying. I don't think I think what we all heard multiple times was, "Oh, this is great defense with no name."
Yes.
No one really separated themselves.
And this is the time for this coming up here is the time for people to make names for themselves, become those talented star players on the defense.
Yeah. I think it comes to everybody's individual situation there, right? Who needs the money, who doesn't, who
exactly.
The next
where
one
are they at?
is the next one who I think should leave. DeAndre Swift.
He's gone.
I think he should go. I think
it was
as a running back, your number of hits you have a number of hits that you can take until your career is over. Shorter. And I think all running backs really, if you have the potential to leave your junior year of college, I think that's when you should just go ahead and go.
Exactly.
Your best years are when you're young as a running back.
The Sony and the Knicks are very, very seldom in college football.
And so I think you're DeAndre Swift, you go, and I'm going to get it to where I think he's going to land in my final thoughts later on.
I also think he leaves, and I think has to do – what made it almost was the visible frustration he had with Fromm, and I think him constantly talking out about the Georgia offense, which you don't see a lot of players do very often, and on media days, him talking out and saying that the offense needs to step it up and all that kind of stuff. I think there was visible frustration, and I think that you can't even question. I'm 100%. I wouldn't even say 99.9. He's gone.
Yeah,
he's not coming back.
Yeah, I think he's done.
Okay. Tua, I had that he should go to the draft. I think he could choose either one. I think he'd be fine. Like I've said, I think that's the best college quarterback I've ever seen. I've never seen a guy be able to – it's not only the accuracy that he throws the ball with, but it's also how he hits his guys in stride. So, for example, on just like a 5 to 7 yard pass, he hits them in stride to where instead of a 7-yard gain, he turns it into a touchdown pass because he hits them in stride.
Yeah.
And he's just a different kind of quarterback that I really haven't seen at the college level be that skilled throwing the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm him, I think I would leave. I'd go get healthy. Hopefully you can sit out a year and find like a good organization that'll work with him. Get him healthy, get him right, learn the playbook, and then roll him in maybe mid-season off of a bye week in the NFL next year.
Yeah, I think just based off of the injury he has, I think it's just best to leave. I think they're still saying he's a first-round pick. You run the risk of staying and then, possibly not even being able to play.
Yeah.
So that would hurt your draft stock. I think it's just best if he just goes in and stops.
I'm with you 100% on that one, Dakota. I think if he had lost and it wasn't there was no injury factor in there, I think maybe because the guy too is the family he comes from, he may stay again to prove himself. But I think he doesn't have anything to prove. And I think the injury issues, right? I say he leaves, but I still think it's so up in the air. Like I said, because of the upbringing of his family, who he has become because of his family. He's very loyal. He loves Alabama. He's very grateful to them. It can be a 50-50. Like I said, I know he hasn't made his decision yet. And it'll be interesting to see where he does go.
I wish he went to Georgia, man. I love to.
That would have been awesome.
Next one I got is Jake Fromm. You guys know how I feel about this. I hope he goes to the draft. If you're listening, go to the draft, man. I'm just going to declare. But I think he stays. I really do. If he does stay, I really don't think he's the total problem. I've been a big, huge critic of Jake Fromm. However, I really do think that they should just, play more to his strengths rather than trying to create a own offensive playbook that we have to abide by. I think you just play to the strengths that you have right there.
And it's been a trend for us talking this whole time.
Exactly.
Teams need to fit the player.
So I think he comes back another year, and I think as Georgia fans, we sit through another year of a similar offense, if you want to be honest. I think that's just how I feel right now. But honestly, I think he stays. Hopefully he improves his draft stock. I want nothing but the best for him. But right now he looks like he would be a long-term backup in the NFL, which is nothing wrong with that. That's a great career. But that's just what he's a perfect backup, really. You can plug him into a system. He can learn a playbook. He can get you right into the right plays at times, and he can read a defense well.
Pre-snap, he's elite.
Pre-snap, he's great. He's a smart guy. It's just he's not above average to me talent-wise.
I think he stays as well. I think after the season he really has no choice, right? Albeit I defended him most of the season, and then finally I had to make some realizations that he has regressed. Although I think the regression is not on him per se. It doesn't change the fact that he did regress this season, but I think there's a lot of issues. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I think he has to stay at this point, right? He was a early first round prospect, and now I wouldn't take him first round. I would, based off this last season, I wouldn't take him first round at all.
Take him at all. Throughout the draft.
I mean, he would get drafted.
Yeah, he's going to get drafted.
He wouldn't be a first round guy, and I just don't see from his perspective, right? He's not taking a lot of hits back there. I don't think he has injury worries, although he did get hurt in the LSU game. I don't think there's injury worries for him in the grand scheme. But I couldn't if I were him, I couldn't make that choice of all this early round hype at the beginning, and then at the point where he's at now, I think I stay, prove myself one last time, and go early.
I got Jake Fromm staying. Early when I heard the talk of him being an early first round pick, I thought that was kind of silly.
I did too.
I'm gonna be honest. I thought that was a little silly. I think receivers hurt him
big time.
I think receivers hurt him a lot. Play calling wasn't favorable for him, but I think he might as well just stay.
It's got to.
However, I will say, this is a great time for him to leave, because there's no for sure fourth best quarterback in this draft. There's
a lot of people like Jordan Love out of Utah State.
But honestly, there's the fourth quarterback's up for debate. There's multiple names being thrown. There's there's Joe Burrow, there's Tua, and there's Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert. But for the fourth quarterback, you got Jalen Hurts, you got Jake Fromm, Jacob Eason, Jordan Love.
Yeah, speaking of Jacob Eason, we can talk about whether he should stay or leave.
Jacob Eason. Oh yeah, I mean, I think he should stay. He hasn't proven anything as a quarterback, really. I mean, another 6-6 season at Washington. I think he was 7-6 or 6-6 at Georgia his first year.
Yeah, I think
nothing. He hasn't. He's got the arm talent to be good. He reminds me more of a Jay Cutler. A lot of talent. He doesn't have any it factors.
I think he's a Flacco kind of guy to me.
I've heard.
He reminds me of too. Gunslinging guy.
George from his experiences at Georgia, I just heard lots of negative things about him.
He wasn't a locker room leader, that's for sure.
I heard he was more of a partier, stuff like that, rather than a worker. That's not what I want in my quarterback. I think he's just more of an arm talent. He's not
raw talent.
He doesn't have the it factor. He doesn't have the mentality, I don't think. So if I'm him, I come back and try to just be more self-aware, more self-conscious of, hey man, I need to make better decisions. I need to grow, learn the game, and be a studier of the game rather than just relying on talent.
Yeah, so I was, shout out another podcast. I was listening to another podcast, Strong Opinion Sports, right? He's up in Washington, so he knows some people at Washington University. And the word is Jake Fromm is not a film guy.
Oh, Jacob Eason.
Jacob Eason is not a film guy. And he still doesn't even know the playbook. Like, he's been there 2 years, doesn't know the playbook. That's a big problem.
That's a problem.
And if scouts hear that, he'll drop.
And that's the thing. It's one of those things, where the saying, like, guys that are willing to work hard, they're going to beat out talent that's not willing to work hard. And that's Georgia. That's Eason verbatim, the word, right? He's such a talented guy, right? I mean, there's players, probably even guys in the NFL probably wish they had his arm. I mean, let's be real.
I think none of us are saying
his arm talent's amazing. I just don't think. I don't think he proved a lot. I think the Washington team was not that great this year, so that kind of hurts as well. But you're right. He's got to get the leader room charismatic aspect in check, because if he can't lead a college team, there's no way he leads an NFL team.
And I have no way of knowing if he's a film room guy.
Yeah,
that's just based off of what I heard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is just things
so
I'm hearing,
if that is true, that's a big concern.
Yeah, I agree. I got Andrew Thomas next.
No, he's gone.
Georgia offensive lineman.
Yeah, he's gone. They're talking about being a third pick of the draft.
No, absolutely. I have down here goes to draft, of course.
Yeah.
However, I really don't know the kind of person he is. I don't hear much about him.
Yeah.
I know he's a great offensive lineman, great athlete. He's huge. If I'm him, I go to the draft. I go ahead and just get my money. This is your one time to go get paid.
Big guys can get hurt easy too, right?
Exactly.
On that line, you're fighting every single play. You don't get it. You don't get a play off. So I just think it's dumb.
I agree. If I'm him, I go ahead and go.
Well, is your draft stock going to improve by 2 or 3 picks to be number one?
I mean, honestly, the offensive lineman's getting taken
Trevor
number
Lawrence
one.
possibly coming out next year.
Yeah,
you probably won't.
Fields as well.
Yeah, you probably won't go up. There's no reason for him to stay.
No.
So you guys agree?
Yeah.
All right, next one. This one's gonna be a tough one. Najee Harris from Alabama.
That's a tale of two halves, isn't it? Like the season, it's 2 halves to the season, right? Not Alabama and Najee Harris are getting just brutally critiqued about their run game, and then out of nowhere, this dude turns into an absolute freak the way he was running the second half of the season. It'll be interesting to see what he does. I think he's good enough to go. He's one of the few running backs I say should stay, though. And the reason I say he should stay is that there's a question of consistency and there's a question of, okay, can this dude do it game in and game out? It's one thing to do it half the season, right? It's a whole different thing if you can dominate a full season through. This is really his first time getting the rock.
Yeah, and I think me and you are kind of on the same wavelength. I think, if I'm Najee Harris, I'm going to be honest, I'm leaving, But what would benefit him, I think there's more benefit to him staying.
Yeah. Even risking the injury, I think.
I think you're talking about him possibly even making it up to the first round pick next year if he can perform.
Honestly, I disagree with both you guys.
Yeah.
They had a 5-star running back who came in this year who actually got hurt, missed the season.
Trey Sanders.
Honestly, I think he's going to end up filling in the role next year, regardless if he comes back or not. I think Trey Sanders will be the starter. If I'm Najee Harris, I think he goes to the draft. I think he's ended up a 3rd round pick. I think honestly, he reminds me a lot of Derrick Henry. He's not the type of athlete he is. He got the size. He honestly was really impressed me about Najee Harris is his ability to catch the ball in the backfield. That's very undervalued in his game. He seemed like he could catch the ball fine. He just seems like an NFL back to me. Maybe not a starting back. However, I think if I'm him, I can see him being a 3rd round pick and just.
I think that comes to a question though, what you value as a player, right? If you're just wanting to get paid, then that's fine. Go ahead. But if he wants to start and he's got that hunger, which I think has been another question about him. Some people have said he's been a little lazy or doesn't look like he wants it all the time. Then maybe he does go. But if he wants to start, I think you benefit from staying another season because if you run the way you did the second half of the season, Trey Sanders would have to be absolutely something else to take his spot.
Here's the thing about the way Alabama kind of does their running back room, right? Is that we've seen repeatedly that sometimes the most talented guy isn't the number one back, right? Like with Damian Harris last year, he was the number one back. He was not the more talented back.
Josh Jacobs.
Huh?
Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's kind of like
when he kind of lost.
You got to first of all, you got to meet. Nick Saban talks about it all the time. You got to meet the standard, right? And if you have multiple people meeting that standard, he's probably just going to go with who he feels has paid their dues. Yeah. And I think that's kind of what we have seen time and time again, where we've seen multiple times where our 2 backs better than our 1 back, and that's something that Alabama consistently has. So I think Trey Sanders will still be the 2 back if Najee Harris comes.
Well, speaking on Alabama, I just want to talk about why are they so underrated, and this is like mind blowing to me. I'm gonna go on my little rant real quick about Alabama and let you guys comment. So Alabama somehow is ranked 13th in the college football playoff. How? I've got no clue. You said their 2 losses are by a combined 7 points.
Right, 7 points.
They lost to LSU, who is the number 1 team in the nation. They scored 45 points on Auburn's defense, who is elite with the backup quarterback. They lost. They threw 2 pick sixes. I feel like they have athletes all around the field. They have top 5 recruiting classes every year, so they just keep reloading. Mm-hmm. According to the eye test, they're a top 10 team to me. I can't justify putting them on 5 without Tua being healthy. And honestly, I can't put them above Auburn because Auburn beat you head to head. Yeah. However, I can put them above Florida. I can put them above Wisconsin,
Utah,
Penn State, and Utah, and possibly Oregon. Mm-hmm. How they have no All-Americans this year, how Jerry Jeudy, Devontae Smith, Waddle, or Ruggs,
first team All-American.
None of them made first team All-American. That blows my mind. I think Jerry Jeudy is the best wide receiver in college football, and I think Waddle's the best return man in college football. But I think it's more of a Alabama hate season this year, just because they lost to LSU, which LSU is. I mean, That's a good loss. It's okay to lose to LSU.
Well, for me, every season's an Alabama hate season.
Yeah.
But see, I hate Alabama too. But the thing is I appreciate how good they are.
Well, I think this is the first year you can.
Their defense, though.
Oh no, this is the first year you can hate on them and not give them respect because that's the first time they've lost 2 regular season games since 2008.
Yeah,
let's be real about that, right? That's the only reason they don't have All-Americans.
Yeah, and with the All-American argument, with Jerry Jeudy, here I got the first team All-Americans, right? And at receiver you have Jamar Chase. You can make the argument he's first team All-American. Then you have CD Lamb. First team All-American.
I agree, but
2.
Let's be careful saying that.
Right? CD Lamb.
All those guys are so close, right?
Yeah, and they are. And
when you have the difference is whether it be right or not, right? I don't necessarily think that you can tell me, just because their team had a better record that player is better when it's close. I don't think that's right. But I know that's how that you do it, right? That's how almost all sports do it, right? If there's a close race between 2 guys, they're going to give it to the guy that has a better team record. So that's the same thing with Jamar Chase. The same thing with CeeDee Lamb. If Alabama's 12-0, there would probably be multiple first-team All-Americans from that team, and that's a fact. I mean, you have to give credit where credit's due as far as the teams go, and I think that's the only reason.
I don't like Jerry Jeudy being left off. That's my main thing. I don't like Jerry Jeudy being left off, and I don't like Waddle not being the return man.
Well, it's not a return man; it's an all-purpose player.
Punt return, kick return. That's pretty much what that position is.
Well, at the all-purpose play, you have Lynn Bowden Jr. I mean,
we know you like him.
Yeah, that's exciting guy.
I'm gonna still take Waddle, and also I'm gonna take Jerry Jeudy over both those wide receivers. I think
it's a toss-up. I don't think Jerry Judy's so much better that you can say, "Oh, he deserves it more than that."
I think it comes to the fact that the decisions on this were based off the season, not off of who's going to be the better NFL prospect. I think you take the numbers and you take that, and I think that's how they came to the decision, kind of trying to be less biased. Because, I can say I genuinely think Judy's the best receiver as well right now, but I'm not going to say that they did him a complete injustice by doing Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb because both those guys had great seasons, and both those guys are in the playoff.
Yeah, and that's my argument is I don't think it's really a disservice to have those guys over Jerry Jeudy.
No, but
and it's really not a disservice to have Bowden in over Waddle, and also running backs, just to kind of say, I don't really think they go it entirely off of best record, right? Or Jonathan Taylor would be over Hubbard.
But see, I just don't like to disrespect Alabama's getting but at 13, no All-Americans. That's just my thing.
I agree with the ranking. I think the ranking is complete. I think that's completely the fact that for the neutral fans that want to hate on people, I think that, or want to hate on Alabama, I think that's specifically that, because I just don't see how you can watch those games and tell me that Alabama's 13,
I think it came down to strength of schedule as well, guys.
Yeah,
they didn't play. They didn't beat a ranked team that year. Sure. I think that definitely hurt them. I think the committee probably took that into consideration when you look at the rest of these guys. And Utah has a ranked win. Georgia has several ranked wins.
Utah looks horrible. But
they got ranked wins. I think.
Who did they beat? That was ranked.
I can't remember. I looked at it earlier.
Oh, okay.
I didn't write it down.
It's not. But
I'll take better notes next time.
Regardless, it's not.
I didn't know.
Regardless, it's not. It's not impressive what Utah did either. And so I think there's just a little bit of like, okay, do y'all really think Alabama's that bad?
And also, it's the time that the losses came, right?
Yeah.
They're pretty. Yeah. 2 losses pretty close together. I think that also hurts, right?
Yeah.
If you lose a game in the beginning of the season, then
time to make it up, right?
I think so. I think the timing of the losses also hurt. I know that shouldn't really be a thing anymore. I know it's a big thing in the BCS, but I still think it might kind of sway stuff.
Speaking of timing, Jameis Winston in the NFL, he's becoming a free agent in this year. He gets a lot of hate. He's a turnover machine, I will say.
He's a gunslinger. Let's give him his credit at least.
Man, he honestly,
that dude can throw the ball around.
He can throw the ball around, but he also is just an idiot with the football. He's just overly confident in his arm, really, is what it is.
When you got that kind of
my thing is, does he return to Tampa? Would you give him a contract? Because he has the arm talent. Look at his stat yards. I think he leads the league in yards. Mm-hmm. He's second in touchdown passes, but I think he also leads the league in interceptions. He has the arm talent to me, but is it more of he just got this new coach, Bruce Arians, who had great success in Arizona, or is he just that good of a quarterback?
I think he's always flashed that arm talent, in my opinion.
So my thing is, does he return to Tampa? And if he does not return to Tampa, where do you see him going?
I think it all depends on price. price.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, coming out of college, we all knew he had an arm. We also knew his decision making wasn't the best.
No. That second season in college specifically highlighted that. Yeah.
Yeah. I just think it depends on his asking price. If I'm Tampa and it's not something ridiculous, I'm bringing Jameis Winston back.
Yeah.
Is it a franchise tag or it's a long-term deal, or what do you like? Give me kind of information. What are you thinking of offering him? Because I couldn't offer him a long-term deal.
I could offer him a long-term deal if it's not something stupid.
Yeah, exactly. If he's not a $30 million quarterback,
I don't think he's I can't see him being a long-term answer. That's my thing.
It just kind of goes back to the argument I've made before, where I'd rather go with the certainty than uncertainty.
But what has he gained for Tampa Bay? Because he hasn't made the playoffs.
Well, the thing is if you're a coach, you feel, I can fix that, right? Every player you look at him, kind of like Jacob Eason, for instance. You look at a player with that arm talent, you're like, I can fix that, especially if you're Bruce Arians.
Right, and I look at Jameis Winston, I'm not saying he's the problem. Right, that's the thing. I'm not looking at Jameis Winston saying he's the reason we're losing, right? So if that's not the case with your quarterback, a lot of times you try to keep him.
Yeah, and if you're a great coach like Bruce Arians is,
get out.
You can fix some of those mental mistakes that he makes, or at least that's how you feel. You feel as like, I can get my guy in the film room. I can fix his mistakes. I can kind of let him see what I see. Now, will he ever do that? Who knows? I don't know his work ethic. So and I wrote down right here, I don't really know how to feel. If he's not asking for something ridiculous, bring him back. If he thinks he's a max player, I'm letting him walk. I'm letting him walk.
I think he best fits with the Bears. I think Matt Nagy needs.
Do you think the Buccaneers let him leave though?
Oh yeah, I think the Buccaneers let him go. They're going to draft their new quarterback. I think they're going to go get some. I think Jameis Winston has caused them too many problems off the field. Where they're like, he's just too immature for us. We're moving on. So I think
the problem with drafting a quarterback is they're 7-7, right? Like, aren't you kind of worried what quarterback's still going to be around?
I don't know if they sign it. I don't know if they sign a guy or bring in somebody new. I really don't. I don't know I really don't know. I think that he's going to end up with the Bears. I think he can go with Matt Nagy. They need a guy who can push the ball downfield. Mitch Trubisky just isn't getting the job done. And I think Cam Newton, I think you hit on earlier, he's just falling apart. I hate to say that. He's a great athlete, generational talent, and just a physical
I think he's just got beaten up too much.
Exactly. It's just – I think he goes to the Bears, and, honestly, I think the Bears can be contenders with him at quarterback.
I think it's another question, right? Like, for me, I would love to see him go to the Browns. I've not been convinced by Baker Mayfield at all. I think Jameis's dysfunction fits that team, and honestly, with them signing Freddie Kitchens and saying that they're going to stay with Freddie Kitchens for the long term at coach, right? What's to lose at this point? At least give you somebody who can throw touchdowns and interceptions, not the same amount of interceptions as they do touchdowns, which you have with Baker. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. He'll probably sign with Tampa, and the Bears are probably going to have to go sign somebody. For me, the only thing that I would worry about is that do you want to put Jameis at a long-term contract if you're the Bears and miss out on what I think the next two drafts is going to consider and have 1 to 2 franchise quarterbacks in the next 2 drafts each.
Are they going to be bad enough to get one of those top picks, though?
If Trubisky keeps going in the trend, right?
I see that defense.
That is very true. But we're getting to a point where high caliber offenses and dual threat quarterbacks and these guys that are really just game changing, right? After a while, with every year that passes by and Mitch Trubisky, you learn more, and the more that teams learn about him, the more they learn that Mitch Trubisky has more and more weaknesses than he does strengths. And so every year, I think teams can easily beat the Browns the Bears because he can't do it, right? He can't even put up 17 points to win a game. So when you do that, it's incredibly taxing on your defense. I could see the Bears having a horrible season next season and being able to potentially draft Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields or something like that.
Speaking on NFL, I'm pretty sure. What's your final thoughts on this podcast?
Goodness! I'm not even a big NFL guy, but man, I read some stuff today, and I'm just amazed. I think the Browns are at a crossroads. I read something. 42 wins and 115 losses over the last decade. They have the worst winning percentage over the last decade. And I'm saying that they're at a crossroads now. And the reason I say that is because you're at a time now where the Browns have probably had the most talented team that they've had in the last 10 years, and you're still not winning football games. You've put Freddie Kitchens on a long-term deal, and I think you're almost saying that you don't care if you're the Browns organizations. I don't get it. The guy's lost the locker room, has proven that he can't win big games with that. With honestly, preseason, people were saying this team had a top 10, if not even top 5 lineup as talent goes in the entire NFL. And you're sitting at 6-8 right now. Baker Mayfield has not been the guy. I think he's 30th in interception, so he's got he's better than one or two other starting quarterbacks. And I mean, he's thrown the same amount of touchdowns and interceptions. I just don't think – I don't know if they're going to fix it, right? The Browns organization has given me no faith that they're going to fix it. And the reason I say they're at a crossroads is because they have all this talent. If you don't win now and show that you can win when you have good talent, guys are going to quit on you. You're going to lose the locker room. OBJ already wants to leave. He's with his best friend from high school, Landry. And he wants to leave after 1 year. Landry already wants to leave as well. The spat on the sideline with him and the coach.
Did you hear about them yelling to the Arizona Cardinals sideline saying, "Come get me, come get me"?
No, I didn't hear about that.
Browns players were yelling to the Cardinals sideline, "Come get me."
But my thing is you do that, right, and you have this talent and lose and don't even get close to the playoff. You're setting a very, very bad example to guys that could potentially come and change your organization that they're going to have no faith in you. And I think you're at a crossroads here where if you don't do it now and don't do it within the next year, you're going to have another decade exactly the same way.
I think since this is final thoughts, we kind of don't debate it. I think this will be a good topic for next week.
I agree. I just
want to talk about the Cleveland Browns.
I want to kind of give a little poll. Maybe if anyone wants to kind of send in, maybe if I can find a way to post a poll on Twitter or something.
Yeah, I can figure out.
I'd like to post. Is Baker Mayfield and Ryan Leaf 2.0?
Yeah, I think Baker Mayfield and the Browns.
Or is it a Freddie Kitchens problem?
I think this will be a good discussion for next week.
Where do you go? Where do you think the Browns organization's heading, and what do you think needs to be done? Let us know and see what you think about that one, because I got it.
Is it change a quarterback, change a coach?
Both.
Yeah, so give us your opinions.
My final thoughts are on the UFC, or UFC related. Last week, Dana White, president of UFC, said that Conor McGregor, if he beats his next opponent, who is Donald Cerrone, Cowboy Cerrone, he'll possibly be fighting for a title.
Oh,
all right. My problem with it is Conor's fighting at a different weight class, and then he'll get a title shot at a lower weight class. I think that's silly to win a fight at a different weight class and then get a title shot. But also, he hasn't done anything really in a while. He won the title like 3 years ago. All right. He fought Floyd. That was awesome. That was a good circus show.
Yeah.
Wasn't in the UFC. So who cares about that, honestly? And he got dominated by the current champ, Khabib. So I just don't think there's any way that's justifiable that he should get the next title shot. The guy that I would actually like to see get the next title shot is who I would also like to see fight Conor McGregor. And his name is Justin Gaethje. Man, he's fun to watch. If y'all haven't watched Justin Gaethje before,
I've seen a little bit of him.
I mean, that man is a monster. He's so fun to watch. And I think that fight didn't happen because it's such a dangerous fight for Conor McGregor. Mm-hmm. Cowboy Cerrone's on the back end of his career. He's looked old, guys. He's looked so old.
I think this is McGregor's last fight.
Question for you though: is it what I think it is with Conor McGregor and the fact that he was so popular that why not bring him back? And if you have him fighting for titles, that's a good thing, money wise.
Yeah. I mean, that's 100%.
That's all it is.
Yeah, that's 100% what it is. I think anyone that watches consistently knows Conor doesn't deserve the next title shot, guys.
No, not yet. He hasn't earned it.
He hasn't earned it.
Is it just for his last fight? Do you think like this is his last fight?
I don't think this is his last fight. I think.
I can see him retiring after that fight because I mean, really, he's made all the money he can make really out of that.
Yeah, I think he genuinely loves the sport though. Yeah. I think he does.
He can't stay away.
Yeah, I think he's tried to retire like 5 times. He keeps tweeting it. I'm going to try. He comes back. So I think he genuinely loves the sport. I think it's fun for him. I think he loves the press. Even though he kind of does less of it now. I just think that, I don't think he should get the next title shot.
I agree with you on that one.
My final thought, it's time for the Rams to move on from Todd Gurley. While I'm a Georgia fan, I've said that I love Todd Gurley. The wear and tear that the NFL will do to a running back, especially being a workhorse back like he was for the Rams, it takes its toll on a person. I mean, the physical beating week in, week out in the NFL. I mean, if you sit there and watch an NFL game and truly think about and watch it like, man, these full grown men are just flying across the field at full speed and just running into each other, like, man, like that can take a toll on somebody.
Yeah.
I think Todd Gurley, the knee just hasn't been the same. The arthritis is what I've read. He doesn't look the same, and I think a lot of it starts with the offensive line. Honestly,
I think it was poor management by the team though, as well. I think they kind of rushed him into it.
Yes,
into coming back.
I think the offensive line's regressed, and that's kind of caused a drop off as well. But I think it's time to maybe not move on. If you can move him. This is the best time to move him, even though he's not much value. If not, it's time to draft a running back. The perfect fit, who I think is DeAndre Swift.
Another Georgia boy.
Another Georgia back. He can be a workhorse. He can do it all. He can catch the ball. He can run between the tackles, outside the tackles. He's a one-cut, shifty back. He can be physical. He can really do it all. He can fit any system to me. He's the new workhorse back in LA this time around next year, I think. I think he goes to the Rams, and I think
I agree with your take on Todd Gurley. I think the one thing that I will say is I think they can get something for him. I think there's enough teams in need of a good running back that would be willing to take a chance and give you something pretty decent.
But his contract is rough, man.
Well, but it depends how desperate you are. So
I know since we're wrapping it up, will you be here next week?
Yeah, I'll be
all
here.
Right, so we'll tackle the
Cleveland. Cleveland. We'll definitely talk about the Cleveland stuff.
I don't want you to pull a Tim.
I don't pull Tim on you. I'm not going to pull Tim on you at all.
Appreciate you guys listening. Check us out on YouTube. It's Sports Pantomaths. Give us a like and a subscribe. We'd really appreciate it.
Also the email.
Email us any topics you want to talk about.
Comments too as well.
Comments that you have. Feedback. We would love to hear from you. That's sportspantomaths@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram. We also have a Facebook page. You can contact us in any way, and we'd love to hear from you. We'll get back to you, and I thank you for listening, and we'll get back to you on Friday.
See you guys.
Oh, how long was that one?
Man, that